we're going to use some aloe vera juice and aloe vera plant gel in this soap. So we've got here a leaf from the aloe vera plant, as you can see, and this is a single leaf, and we don't really need very much more than that. The other things you are going to need are a knife and a spoon. And the spoon is quite important because what we want to do is get the middle out of this leaf, and to avoid getting too much of the green into the soap, using the spoon will actually mean that we don't take any of that green skin with us. So we're going to get a nice bit of gel from this leaf. So if you look in the center of this leaf here, you can see there, look, this beautiful kind of skin of gel coming out of the skin. It's wonderful. So if you've used any aloe vera products before, you'll know how great they are on the skin. So this is just going to be a really luxurious soap. I'm going to take the end and the kind of place where it was attached to the plant off. And down the edge here, you can see we've got these spines, these ridges that run down. And we just want to take those off initially. I'm just going to run the knife down and try and get those off in one foul swoop. And didn't quite get those in there. So let's just take a little bit more of that off. So you need to take a very thin sliver off. You can see it's starting to kind of get all jelly over there. So those bits can go in the bin. And then what we'll do is take the other side off just like that. And then that piece can go into the bin as well. There is very little waste with this, as you can see. And the spoon comes in here. So what we're going to do is just get the spoon into this here. And we're just very carefully going to use the spoon to scoop. I was just trying to decide which way around to do it. We're just going to use the spoon to scoop the middle out. Haven't quite got it all there, but there's a little bit come off there. And as you can see, we can scrape away most of that gel, quite snotty gel, but gel nonetheless, with the spoon and not really ruin the leaf too much. So I'm going to scoop the rest of this out and we're going to get it into the pot and I'll show you what we do next. The next bit is very simple. All we're going to do is take our stick blender and whiz this gel up so we kind of break it down a little bit and it's less kind of jelly and therefore it'll incorporate into the soap a little bit easier. And it's just a matter of giving it a quick whiz. Now it will get quite frothy and kind of foamy when you do this. So I would suggest you kind of do this step first of all, get all of it done into a kind of a nice gloopy mess and then let it settle. Those air bubbles will dissipate over time and you can then use it and you won't be incorporating too much air into your soap. You can see there, we get a lot of bubbles from it, but there's some lovely sugars in there that's going to help boost the lather in this soap. And it's just a very good skin soap, I think. But all I'm going to claim is that it's going to get you clean. Anyway, that's making the aloe vera gel. Let's move on to making our lye solution with aloe vera juice. So I'm very much a proponent of using these polypropylene or PP jars because they've got a lid on them and they can accept a high heat. They can be dishwashered. They're brilliant. So what I've done is I've basically taken my aloe vera juice and I've popped it in the freezer in this container I'm going to make the aloe vera lye solution in, and then frozen that. So as I put the lye solution in, the lye solution will as I put the lye into it, the lye will melt the ice, but we won't get too much of a temperature rise. But you can see there that the colour that it started was kind of a light orange, and we are getting into a little bit of a deeper orange just because the sugars in there are starting to caramelise a little bit, but freezing it does help. So whilst I don't always freeze my aloe vera juice, cleaning up a little bit of spill there, always clean up after yourself if you spill any lye, just because you don't want that getting into your anywhere really. Just make sure you're very careful with the lye. Anyway, so yeah, so I always freeze juices if I'm using juices and things like that because the sugars in them will increase the temperature of the lye and it will burn the lye solution and you'll get some very strange fragrances from it and it will smell slightly odd as you use it. So I tend to freeze juices and things that have high sugars in them so I can avoid that a little bit. But that's essentially making our lye solution. And we'll go on to getting everything ready for the soap. And if you're new to the channel, this may be something that you've not seen before. So I thought I'd leave a little bit of this in, but this is how I actually make my micas up before I go on with making the soap. What I do is I've got a glass plate here. This is just a piece of glass from a frame that I had hanging around. The frame got broken, the glass was there, I used the glass. Now what I'm going to do is use that glass to put my mica powders onto. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some lightweight oil. I actually use a lightweight pomace oil, so I'm adding a little bit of extra oil into it, a little bit more of a super fat. But I tend not to use pomace oil, and this has got a little bit of rapeseed in there as well. So it's complicated to work that out, so I use it just for this. As you can see here, what I'm doing is I'm popping my mica powders down onto the glass. Now, I'm using a neon mica for part of my green colour. And the thing you have to bear in mind with neons is they can take an age to dissipate on their own, but they also take, if you don't get them mixed in, they will create like lumps and streaks within the soap, which people don't really want. So by doing it this way and using a glass plate and a palette knife like you would use for art, you can actually smush all of those particles of mica together into the oil, and you can make a really lovely smooth mica that you can then put into your soap. I'm doing a gradient pour on this one, and I also want my soap to stay quite fluid. So by doing your micas in this way, you can hand stir your mica into your soap fully without having to stick blend it. You can get a really nice colour into that soap, and then you don't have to worry about stick blending it, accelerating trace, and all of those things. So for my 3 colours in there that I want, and I've just circled it with a little bit of a lightweight oil there. As I say, that's just a pomace and rapeseed mix. And then using the back of my palette knife here, I'm just trying to not make too much mess, but failing quite miserably, and then just really incorporate that. You can add as much or as little oil as you want. As you can see there, you're just kind of scraping it in, and we'll get it fully incorporated in there in a second. And then what you'll see is I'll spread it quite far and quite thin, and you'll see that there are little streaks left within it that you see there. There's one, and there's another one over there. And what we want to do is just get those little pockets of the neon out of this. So we've got beautifully smooth colour. It's fully mixed, and there's no little lumps of mica hanging around that could ruin our soap. So that's how I do my micas for soaps like this, where I just want to be able to hand stir it into the batter. Now here we have everything. So I've got all of my ingredients. I'll go through them as we work with this. So this is my oils, which I've got some titanium dioxide in, which is why the colour's a little bit opaque. This is our aloe vera gel that I've mixed. And as you can see there, because it's been sitting, we've dissipated most of those bubbles from it. So we'll pop that into the oils. Now you're going to be blending this, but what I'm going to do is just get it in there and give that a good blend with the titanium dioxide that's sitting in there as well, just to make sure that all of that is really well incorporated and I have no little bits of titanium dioxide that might create a problem. In here, I've got citric acid mixed into a little bit of distilled water, which is going to go into the oils as well, and we're going to scrape all of that in. Citric acid is wonderful because it stops a lot of the soap scum happening. And the final ingredient here to make a nice hard bar is a little bit of sodium lactate. So this is a salt, and that will just help us harden the bar up a little bit after it has cured. So we'll stick blend that all together so all of that gets incorporated into the oils before we add our lye solution. Now, the really important thing to remember is if you're adding something like a fruit lye where the colour may have gone a little bit darker, 9 times out of 10, it will come back, it will not colour the soap, but a little addition of some titanium dioxide can always help you avoid that colour going too dark. That's why I've just added that little bit of titanium dioxide in there. And now we're all blended together. What we can do is we can add our lye solution. Now I'm going to run this through a sieve because we've got a juice which may have particles and stuff within it, and I want to catch those before they go too far. I'm just going to pour it through there, and as you can see, we've got that little bit of kind of scum on the top, and this is just going to really take out anything that I don't want kind of sullying the soap. Do make sure if you're doing this though that you get all of the lye solution you can out of it, and you're just leaving that little kind of rubbish behind, because if you don't add all the solution, you won't saponify it properly and it'll be softer than you expected it to be. So the lye solution has gone in there, and you'll see just around the edge here, can you see how the colour is starting to change? That's because we've obviously got that darker lye solution gone in there, and you'll spot a change now as we go through it. It's just moving from that kind of nice creamy yellow more towards a little bit more of an orange colour, but it does come back and it will look bright white, when it goes through saponification. So don't worry too much about it at the moment. And that, again, as I say, these things can change color quite drastically when you start to use them, but then all of a sudden they'll look absolutely fine. So you'll be fine with this. Just trust the process. So this is our base color. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go from a white color and we're going to go through all the way to a green, because we just want to echo that kind of aloe vera plant look. So I'm going to give this another quick stick blend here. It wasn't quite emulsified, and I just wanted to give it one little stick there to make sure that everything is fully together, and then we can move on with mixing this. Now, because I do need this to be thin, I am looking at getting this whole thing to a thin trace, and I may have just taken it a wee bit too far, and I was soaping a little bit warmer than I normally soap, but it still lasted for what I needed it to do, and it lasted perfectly well for this pour. So you can see I'm just checking. Now what we're going to do is we're going to pour about 2/3 to 3/4 of our batter into the green, leaving ourselves a little bit in the bottom of the white jug there. Then what we're going to do is we're going to stir our green through. And you can see there we've got a nice light green. It's a little bit light for what I wanted. So I am just going to go in with some oxide. I've got some blue oxide and some yellow oxide handy. And what I do is I have these mixed in oils in these little squeeze bottles. If I'm not happy with a colour, because I've got because I've got a blue, a yellow and a red plus a black in the oxides, I can just go in and I can tweak colours as I want them as I'm going along. Because these are not going to be sold, I can then kind of tweak my colour schemes as I want with these colours, and I can get down to a colour that I'm more interested in than with the micas and stuff. So again, these are quite handy to have. You could do the same with micas. You could have a standard red, a standard blue, a standard yellow. They're all mixed together, but test them first to make sure they do what you want them to do. And you can see I'm just trying to make that a much darker, more natural olivey green colour than that really kind of pale colour that we had before. So we're getting into there. I'm not going to show you how I kind of mix all that together because it's quite dull. We'll come back as we're getting ready to do the pour. So I've brought my mould in here and it is at an angle so I can pour this. Now, I'm not going to alter the angle of my soap, even when it comes to letting it saponify. It's going to sit in my little cradle here and it's going to saponify at an angle because I want it to have the shape of an aloe vera. That's why we're not going to move it. So you can see here, I'm just pouring that white colour in first of all, and then I pour a little bit of the green in. Mix that through and then pour another 4 traverses across my soap mould. And I'm going to repeat that for all of the batter, gradually getting greener and greener as we go. So 2, 3, 4. And I've learnt from doing this a number of times is that you want the least amount in the batter you're adding to. So you're always getting a nice colour change. If you have too much batter in that pouring pot, you're just going to have too much of one colour in the middle and just really work it like that. I'd much rather have more of my darker colour towards the end than getting too getting too dark too quickly and then having nowhere else to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop a little bit of music on now, and just you can see this in a sped up version and see exactly how we do this, and then we'll come back for the cut. When it comes to getting soaps out of acrylic molds like this, there is a little trick that can help you, and that is just to pop your soap into the freezer for a little while. And what that will do is it'll help everything firm up, and your soap should literally, or hopefully should literally just slide out. So you can see there that side has come off quite well, and so do the ends. Now there is a little bit of a stickiness on the bottom part, but they do come out very well. So you just have to be a little bit careful, a little bit gentle with it, but they came out perfectly fine. So the soap was a wee bit soft for cutting, but it wasn't too bad because of the sodium lactate. So we're going to pop it in. Now I pop it in with the slanted face upwards, so it is flat onto the bed of my cutter. And then what you're going to do is, just with these cutters, you have to go very slowly and very purposefully. Do not stop halfway through cutting the soap. Keep going until it is all the way through. Ease off a little bit at the end so you don't push out a lot of the soap from the bottom, but you'll get then a perfectly cut soap. So going through like that, very gently but very firmly, carrying all the way through right to the bottom. Just ease off a little bit and then bang, we're through. And we've got a rather lovely gradient soap, not overly gradiented, but gradiented enough. And it looks like a wonderful aloe vera soap with a gradient through it. And here is the final soap. So what I did do is, on a couple of the bars, I just took a rose cutter for doing rose petals. And I've just pushed that through the soap to get the kind of striations on a couple of the bars, and then left a few of them whole like that. So that is the aloe vera soap with a gradient pour. So if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a like. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. It really helps me grow and allows me to make more videos and tutorials for all of you. When you subscribe, don't forget to click the bell icon if you'd like to get notified when a new video is uploaded. And thanks a lot, Soapsters. I'll see you again next time.